Hello friends, I'm back in here in the shop, getting ready to start something new. So today I'm just going to do something short and quick just so that I have a little bit of content out there for you. Um, if you remember, I was talking about doing little doorways. I'm going to have one of these little blocks. I'm going to do a doorway for you. I've already taken and done a little bit of work on this. With my bandsaw, I cut out this little bit of design and I've already drawn on here. I want to do a little hobbit door. So many people like these. They love the Hobbit and they love these little doors. It's similar to any other fairy door, just it's a Hobbit door. I'm going to go ahead and do this one and then finish it with waterproof stain, waterproof sealant on it so that it can sit down into the planter and give a nice little design to put down inside of there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. Let's go. Okay, so what I've done, as you can see, I've got the framework around the door. I've got the inset for the door. This door is going to have to go down a little bit further. I'm going to put a knob right here in the middle, but I think what I'm going to do is use one of the nails to put in there to have that so I don't have to carve it. Same with this window. I do need to put in the cross piece there. This is going to be all stonework up to the wood roof that we see here. And then this is going to be the basement or the foundation is what that's going to end up being there. So, all right, let's move on. Well, you could see that we have a little bit of a mistake that happened there, but it's all right. We'll just make it look old and weathered. There are no mistakes in wood carving, at least none that can't be hidden or changed and to make it look like something intentional. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing some of the stonework. I'm going to go ahead and do the top underneath the roof right here as well. Well, there you go. You got some stonework. You got a window. I may make this look more like brick up here now. I just don't like it plain. I'm going to probably make this like stones going around here instead of wood. And this will be a wooden door right in here. This is kind of a short one because this is pretty much going to be done here in a second. I'll probably go ahead and get the painting done as well right on this video, so you'll see the whole thing completely done. One shot. So I'm going to go ahead and put some lines in for the, I'm going to have 3 boards on this front door. So I'm going to go ahead and get those lines in for the boards. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the, try to go ahead and make some grain within here so that we can let that pop once we put the stain on it. So what do you guys think? Got some nice wood grain in that door. Got some brick down across the bottom. I don't think I'm going to go around the side. Like I said, this is going to be sitting into a planter, and you're really only going to see it from the front. Though more than likely there'll be leaves coming up on the sides of this thing. Let me go ahead and I'm going to do a nice light sanding on this, and I'll show you that with my flap sander, and then we'll go ahead and start painting. Just in case you missed this, and I think I may have said this at the beginning, that this is from a piece of American white cedar. It's just cut into about 3.5 inches by whatever. Some of the blanks that I've cut out do not have any bark on them like this one does. These I kind of like because they lend themselves to be a natural roof on these things. But if they don't, like I've got this one that I'm not done with yet. This one did not have any of the live edge on it anywhere. And again, I'm not done here. You can see that I've started doing some of the stonework. I have a little light that is up near the top. This is probably going to come off completely and go, it'll just be stone back in here. And so you could do this any way you wish, but kind of what I'm getting at with this is when I was doing that sanding, you could really smell that cedar. That's another part that makes this relaxing, is each different species of wood has its own unique smell, and this is just amazing. It really does calm you down and make you nice and relaxed a little bit. So you can see what I've got. I don't have too many colors here. This is all I'm going to be using. I'm going to go ahead and I usually leave the black and the white in their lids because they're a much larger container. I have these pretty big containers of this paint for those. The rest of them are the small little ones that you typically see when you go to a hobby store. So let the painting begin. I've got my little container of water over here. First, what I'll do is I'm going to water down my this. It's an antique brown that I've got, and I like it because if I water it down, I can get it down into the cracks. Still lets the wood show through. Next, what I'll do is I have this kind of a beige color, and I'm going to water it down. Again, a lot of these paints I don't put on straight. I water them down quite a bit. So I'm going to take this and put it down into these little cracks like this, because I want you to see the mortar in there. I want you to see that show up. So I'll go ahead and I'll get that in there. And it's very much okay if you slop over, because you're going to hide it once you get the other color on there. I probably don't need a whole lot of this on this one, because this type of wood right here is a very light wood, as you can see. So it probably doesn't even need that stuff in there, but still, I like to put it there. So next, again, a little bit of water. I'm going to take some of my antique red here and go over top of these bricks. And I want to do my best. Sometimes it's going to seep in because I did water it some, but again, it's okay. So we'll go ahead and get this on here. So we have the color on for our brick. Bricks aren't done at all. I have some more detailing to put on those. So I think now what we're going to go with is I'm going to go ahead and get some of the gray, and again, watered down. And I'm going to go ahead and put the gray on the stones. And it's okay if you get some, I mean, if you can see, at least I think you can see it, some of the red is still wet and it's coming up onto those. It's not going to hurt anything. If you've ever looked at rocks have a ton of different colors in them. Red being one. You might see a rock with a little bit of a red stain on it or red something, who knows. We're just going to leave it. We're not worried about it. Again, you're not going to be making these perfect. You can try. You could probably end up making yourself very frustrated in doing so, and you don't want that. The whole idea of this is to relax. Today's Sunday. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's a great day to relax, and actually more like stonework. You can just see what I just did there. So there we go with that. Now, my red down here for the brick, you can see what's going on here. It is super nice when you're doing these paintings. You want to go ahead and put a nice light wash down, and then you'll see I've taken some darker color. Hopefully that's you can see that in there, where it's got two different shades of that red in there. That's kind of what you're looking for. You want to see that change in color. It gives it a more of a three-dimensional look. It gives it a more natural look to it. So now what I'm going to do is take some of this antique stuff and do a light little brush over the top of these, just to give them more of a brick color. Next, what I want to do is take some of the tan, or light beige it is actually what it is. I'm going to do a real quick little dry brush over top of the wood. And what that's going to do is help us make that stuff pop right off of that piece. And before I get to the window, I want to finish up on the brick. So the brick, I'm sorry, not the brick, the stone. We can see that the stone just really looks flat. Even though it is obviously three-dimensional, it's flat because it doesn't have any shading. So I'm going to go ahead and take some black, dry brush it on, mostly near the bottom. If it gets up on the top, so be it. It's not a problem. But we're going to put some black on that to give it some character, to give it some depth. And so that's kind of what we're doing here. So we've added some black. And of course, you can see the black went up on the top a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of white, mix it in with that beige color, just kind of a lighter beige. I'm going to take that, and what I'm doing is daubing it in here. And then we're going to go ahead and just lightly touch the tops of these. Just a light touch, and give it a light bit of that lighter color up on here. And that's going to give us more three-dimensional look to these pieces. You can even take and just do a little bit of a wipe on here as well, and then gently wipe some off. There we have that. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of black down in here. That just felt too much in there. So now I need to get a smaller brush. With that smaller brush, I'm going to use some of this darker antique brown. And this is undiluted. I want to go ahead and get the framework on this window. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of water to the top of this, just so that it runs down in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do inside the window now. I'm not doing the cross members until last. A good thing about adding water to your paint, especially in this situation, is it will help it to flow down into those corners. I don't have real expensive brushes. I mean, yeah, I guess you could go out and buy some nice little brushes that'll give you the ability to do more detail and what have you. But I'm really kind of rough, and most of us here are that do this kind of stuff. I have painted before. I know how to take care of brushes. I have a nice set of brushes that I use for acrylics and watercolors. I don't have those out here because typically I'm getting sawdust in them. I'm getting, they're in a very dirty environment out here, and they really, this isn't going to be a Picasso that we're doing here. It is, you're really trying to just show something and give the idea of what you've got going on with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. We all know this. And the people that are going to look at these, whether you're selling them or giving them away as gifts, whatever your end use for these will be, you don't need them to be perfect, and they're not going to expect them to be. What you're really highlighting here is your carving. As far as I'm concerned, my painting is done. What I want to do next is let this dry, and then I have a stain overcoat that I'm going to put on top of that. So let me get all of that ready. Let me get this thing dried. We'll wait until it does dry, and I shall be right back. So friends, this is what we call and I think I've mentioned this before, these are carpet tack nails. You can get them pretty much anywhere, any hardware store, I should say, not anywhere. I'm going to use that. These things make great little doorknobs. I make bandsaw boxes. These are great to put in as something to put in, and then have a nail glued to the top of them to give you to give it a little standoff sort of. And that comes in very handy for hobbit doorknobs. So the last thing I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this some of this wood stain on here. This is called red mahogany. I'm hoping it's not going to be too dark, but we'll see. I always, well, I don't always, but I try to put these gloves on when I'm going to do staining so I don't stain my hands up. But we'll go ahead and we'll just coat this up with this. And yes, it's going to look really disgustingly gross. You're not going to like the way it looks right now, but give it a second. You'll see what happens here. Now, especially with lighter colored woods, you don't want to let this stuff just sit on here for too long, because the stuff will soak it right up. And then you may end up being too dark overall. But I just like to get the whole thing completely covered. Then once it's covered, I'll take my you can let it sit. The longer it sits, the darker it gets. But in this instance, I don't want it too dark. I want to go through here and wipe it off. So it's really just giving it, obviously, just a stain. Now I take my copper wire brush. Copper is a softer metal. If you've got a steel one, you probably don't want to use that on this because it will scratch up the wood pretty good. This could scratch it up, but chances are not. Chances are that this is just going to get some of that stuff out of the cracks and kind of help you buff things up a little bit. And there we go. We have a finished piece.